In New York City, Eddie tries to retrieve his van from the repair shop, but even offering all his rent money isn't enough to cover the bill. While arguing with the mechanic, Eddie ignores a call from his daughter, Sarah. He explains he needs the van to pick up Sarah and work delivery jobs, but the mechanic remains unmoved. Eddie's ex-wife calls next, yelling at him for failing to pick up Sarah, who's still waiting at school. She accuses him of not prioritizing their daughter before hanging up. Desperate, Eddie notices a wallet on the table. He provokes the employee into shoving him, creating a distraction to steal the wallet unnoticed. Outside, Eddie checks the wallet, but finds little cash. On the main avenue, he searches for opportunities to steal, tugging on car handles but finding none unlocked. A barking dog startles him from one car, but he calms it down and gives it water. Eddie calls his friends for help, but no one offers money. He buys lottery tickets, but none win. When Sarah calls again, Eddie answers. She complains about him abandoning her, but also says she still loves him. After the call, Eddie notices a luxury SUV parked alone. He checks the door and finds it unlocked. He climbs inside, searching for valuables, but only finds sunglasses. When a passerby approaches, Eddie hides his face. As he prepares to leave, the door locks on its own. Eddie panics, trying each door and slamming against the windows, but nothing gives. A tablet on the dashboard starts ringing with a call from Answer Me, but Eddie ignores it. Meanwhile, a hidden camera records him. Finding a lug wrench, Eddie strikes the window, but it doesn't break. He tries prying open the door by breaking the panel, injuring his arm in the process. His phone has no signal. With no other option, Eddie finally answers the tablet. On the other end is William, the car's owner. Eddie demands to be let out, but William laughs and uses the car's system to shock him through the seats. William explains the car has been broken into multiple times, so he installed a custom security system to trap intruders. Eddie pulls out a gun and fires at the window, but the bullet ricochets off the bulletproof glass and strikes his own leg. Severely wounded, Eddie tries to get help from a woman parking nearby, but she doesn't notice him through the tinted soundproof windows. As Eddie's leg bleeds heavily, William refuses to call an ambulance, claiming he's a doctor. Eddie's phone still has no signal, with William confirming the car jams all communications. Eddie tries to stop the bleeding with a shoelace tourniquet, but it's ineffective. William shocks Eddie every time he swears, and between the blood loss and electrical shocks, Eddie passes out. When he wakes up, it's night and raining. His wounds have been bandaged. Searching his bag, Eddie finds his water and snacks are gone. The next morning, William calls again, trying to tell him a personal story. Eddie loses his temper and gets shocked again. William then blasts the air conditioning and plays loud yodeling music. At first, Eddie tolerates it, but hours of cold and noise drive him to exhaustion. That night, he rips off the seat covers to use as a blanket. When William calls again, Eddie sincerely apologizes and promises to behave. William turns off the air conditioning but still refuses to release him. The next morning, Eddie urinates into the empty water bottle and starts tearing apart the car, trying to find a way out. None of his efforts work. William calls to taunt him, and Eddie notices someone watching the parking lot from a nearby balcony. They argue, and William tases him again. Eddie warns that letting him die could cause legal trouble. He explains that he has never killed anyone and only carries a gun for protection. William remains unconcerned, calling the police incompetent and saying he won't get caught. He reveals he has cancer with only 4 months left to live, motivating him to deliver his own form of justice. William asks for Eddie's social security number to check his criminal record, saying he will be more lenient if it's a first offense. But if not, he'll punish him by cutting off fingers, referencing practices in other countries. Eddie refuses and argues that poverty forces people into crime while the wealthy hoard resources. Offended, William tases him again and restarts the music. Later, the car's temperature rises sharply, forcing Eddie to strip to cope with the heat. Desperate, he considers drinking his urine, but can't bring himself to do it. William calls and offers to lower the temperature and provide water if Eddie gives him his social security number. Eddie agrees. After getting the number, William turns off the heat and reveals he hid a water bottle under the seat during his earlier visit to treat Eddie's wounds. Eddie drinks the entire bottle. As he tries to sleep, he feels something in his jacket pocket, the lottery tickets he bought earlier. Scratching the last one, he discovers he's won enough money to cover his earlier expenses. William calls to ask what's happening, and Eddie, now emotional, begs for food and apologizes for his actions. Believing Eddie is not dangerous, William unlocks the glove compartment to reveal a snack. Eddie grabs it and notices a hidden switch inside before the compartment closes. As William receives another call, Eddie hears his voice over the car's speakers, confirming that William is indeed a doctor. William announces he must leave. Eddie then notices the figure on the balcony moving, realizing that's his captor. After William leaves the balcony, Eddie flips off the camera but gets no reaction, confirming William isn't watching. Eddie breaks open the glove compartment, takes a picture of the internal circuits, and studies the setup. He tries reaching for the hidden switch but breaks a nail in the process. When he tries again, the car seats deliver an electric shock. William has returned and caught him. The next day, Eddie pretends to rest in the front seat while secretly using his foot to reach into the glove compartment. Another day passes, and his condition worsens to the point he is forced to drink his own urine. That night, Eddie finally manages to hit the switch with his foot, turning the car's power back on. He quickly jumps into the driver's seat and drives off, but the car stops after a few minutes. William calls to mock him, and the car starts moving again, this time under William's remote control. As the car speeds through the streets, William plays classical music and comments on how crime has overtaken New York. Eddie panics when the car accelerates dangerously and eventually stops in a dark alley, where two criminals are assaulting a man. William flashes the car's lights and honks the horn to draw attention. One thug reveals a gun, but the car speeds forward and runs him over while William laughs. The second thug flees while shooting at the bulletproof glass. A chase follows, with the thug trying to escape down a blocked street. William rams the gate, injuring the thug further by pinning him. Despite Eddie's protests, William backs the car up and then rams it forward again, killing the thug. Eddie screams in anger, but William drowns him out by blasting loud music as the car races through the city at high speed, narrowly avoiding other vehicles. The car enters a parking garage, speeding up ramps until it reaches the rooftop. William drives even faster to disorient Eddie. The car charges toward the edge but stops at the last moment, causing Eddie to hit his head and lose consciousness. By morning, Eddie wakes up to find the car still moving. William informs him that he visited Eddie's family and took Sarah to school, posing as a worker from a nonprofit organization. While criticizing Eddie for unpaid alimony, William stops the car in front of Sarah's school. Eddie watches in horror as Sarah exits the building alone. The car follows her, passing dangerously close, frightening her. Sarah tries to escape on her scooter, while Eddie cries and apologizes. William ignores his pleas and increases the car's speed, continuing the chase. Desperate to end the situation, Eddie grabs his gun and tries to shoot himself, but the gun is empty. William narrowly avoids hitting Sarah with the car and reveals he had removed the bullets earlier when stitching Eddie's wounds. Eddie remains silent for the rest of the day while William continues to rant about the system. That night, Eddie loses control. He rips out all the cameras and smashes the tablet. When the car keeps moving, Eddie looks at photos of Sarah on his phone and records an apology message to her, but is unable to send it because the car is still jamming the signal. The car eventually stops at a different parking lot, and William lowers the window to greet him. Eddie tries to attack, but William repeatedly tasers him until he calms down. William sprays perfume to cover the smell in the car and gives Eddie zip ties, ordering him to bind his wrists. After another shock, Eddie complies, tying his hands to a hook inside the car. William gets inside, leaves a bag in the back seat, reloads the gun, and allows Eddie to have a cigarette and some gummy bears. Then he plays classical music and drives off. During the drive, Eddie keeps questioning William about his daughter. In response, William slams the brakes multiple times, making Eddie hit his head against the dashboard. William explains that his daughter was killed by car thieves and rants about the younger generation. As they argue over the idea of justice, William holds the gun to Eddie's head. Meanwhile, Eddie keeps his foot inside the glove compartment and eventually presses the switch, cutting off the car's power. The vehicle loses control, crashes through a barrier, and falls off a cliff. Eddie breaks his nose, hitting the dashboard. During the crash, William accidentally fires the gun, and the bullet ricochets inside the car before hitting him. The car eventually stops near a river at the bottom of the cliff, leaving both men unconscious. In the morning, the phone sends the message because the car's jamming system has stopped working. Eddie wakes up first and struggles against the zip ties. He manages to break free just as William wakes up, leading to a fight. Eddie overpowers William and prepares to shoot him, but his phone rings with a call from Sarah. William tells him to answer, and Eddie hears Sarah say she's worried after receiving his message. Eddie assures her he's fine, and promises to pick her up soon. Suddenly, the car engine catches fire. Eddie asks William to unlock the doors, but William says it was fun and dies. Eddie searches William's bag and finds a hammer strong enough to break a window. He escapes the car just before the fire spreads and walks away with his winning lottery ticket, leaving William's body behind. After reaching the road, a passing driver sees Eddie bleeding and offers him a ride. Later, Eddie arrives at the mechanic's shop to pick up the van, but it's still being repaired. To avoid being late, Eddie sells the van to the mechanic and buys a bicycle. He rides it to Sarah's school and reunites with her in a tight hug.